Welcome back and happy holidays from the Florida Orchestra. I'm Ed Parsons, General Manager of the Florida Orchestra. Pleasure to have with us our music director, Michael Francis.
Hello, and a very happy new year to you. We're very excited to start this marathon January with the Florida Orchestra with you. We have 16 concerts in 6 different programs in 4 weeks. A lot of work, a lot of music for you, either in person, which we hope, of course, but equally streamed live to you as well.
And we're here to talk about our Soundwaves program for this week. And this program looks at 2 pieces based on the play Le Bourgeois Gentilhomme, or The Middle-Class Aristocrat, by 18th century playwright Molière. The play was a 5-act comedy ballet, a play intermingled with dance, music, and singing. The story satirizes a man named Monsieur Jourdain and his attempts to rise above his social standing, all the while poking fun at the vulgar and pretentious middle class and the vain, snobbish aristocracy. The original production was mounted just over 350 years ago in October 1670, performed before the court of Louis XIV. The music for that performance was composed by Jean-Baptiste Lully, and that is the first piece we'll hear on our program. Lully's music is typical of the Middle Baroque period and known for its power and liveliness. Though Lully is perhaps most famous for his cause of death. You see, it was typical in that period for a conductor to conduct with a staff, beaten on the ground. And one fateful day, Lully stabbed his foot with his conducting staff. That became infected, and rather than amputate his foot because he wanted to continue to dance, it became gangrenous, and he died. And I hear a rumor that we may have a staff making its way onto our program this weekend.
Hopefully in a less fatal manner, but we shall see. You'll have to come, won't you, to see whether Lully's spirit of death and the model in which it happened will be reincarnated. But yes, a big stick may be in play.
Do be careful.
I shall wear steel-toe cap boots.
It is an unfortunate story because in some ways it overshadowed Lully as a composer, and he has some of the best music to come out of France in the Baroque period.
So Lully and Molière tackled this story of Monsieur Jourdain, the middle-class gentleman, which is an ironic term because you couldn't be middle class and a gentleman. To be gentleman or to be a member of the nobility was a birthright. You couldn't earn it. And in the story, you'll see that Monsieur Jourdain, he has 5 different tutors. He tries to learn fencing, dancing, music, philosophy, and there's another one there as well. But he doesn't manage to do any of them very well. And the story unfolds as he tries to get his daughter married to a count, and the count has no money, unlike Monsieur Jourdain has lots of money, but the count is a gentleman and Monsieur Jourdain is not. So they both have what each other want. Anyway, Monsieur Jourdain is continuously tricked, and the whole thing ends up with a great huge dinner, and at the end of it, they dress up Monsieur Jourdain as this Turkish aristocrat, and they make him go through a fake ceremony to become the Mamamouchi, in which then his daughter Lucille will be married to a gentleman. It's a wonderful farce, very slapstick, extremely funny, but Monsieur Jourdain is always the butt of the joke to his ever-suffering and intelligent and reasonable wife. And this desire to sort of show a mockery about social manners was absolutely lapped up by the aristocracy at the time, and they also recognized that they were being laughed at. The music of Lully would have been interspersed throughout the play at certain points, and what you'll hear from us in this concert is a conglomeration of the best bits of the music, finishing with the ceremonial dance of the Turks. Amazing percussion things going on, tremendous amounts of fun, really short, brilliant movements showing the ability of Lully to capture the personality of Molière's play, but at the same time just glorious music on its own. Baroque, great fun, and hopefully with a conductor who won't kill himself while conducting.
And to fill out our program, we have another setting of Le Bourgeois Gentilhomme, this one by Richard Strauss. Strauss wrote it in 1911, following the triumphant premiere of his opera Der Rosenkavalier. It was the first production of a German adaptation of the play, produced in 1912 in a similar fashion to the original, with music, dancing, and singing. Unfortunately, the play was a dismal failure. It was far too long, and people were confused by the combination of play and opera. Strauss commented, "A public that goes to the theater does not want to hear an opera, and vice versa." In fact, he went on to split the work into 2, with half the music used for the incidental music of the play, and the other half of the music into the still popular opera Ariadne auf Naxos. Insistent on getting more mileage out of the wonderful music for the play, Strauss created a 30-minute concert suite from the material in 1917, which is what we will hear this weekend. It is full of Straussian style, including references to his own orchestral works, Don Quixote and the opera Der Rosenkavalier, but also includes nods to the original Lully, has many whiffs of the Baroque style. Strauss was a master at telling stories through music, and this example is no exception. In fact, it was one of Strauss's favorite pieces of music that he ever wrote.
Yes, and I wonder what attracted Strauss and Hofmannsthal to this story. And I think it was the idea that art and education should be for all and not just for the aristocrats. And what we see in this is that when the five tutors, which are the tailors, the music, dance, philosophy, and fencing, try to teach Monsieur Jourdain, they are fighting amongst themselves. They're not being generous with sharing their craft, or they're being very pompous about it. There's the idea of money. What can money buy you, and is it worth selling your soul for what other people think of you? There's the idea of clothing and fashion. I mean, in the play, Monsieur Jourdain is dressed up in the most ill-fitting and ridiculous outfits, but because someone says that what others like, he would wear it willingly. There's also the whole point about marriage and the manipulation of it for social gain. This really is an expose, a riposte of the desire to socially climb and not accept oneself for who one is. So in the music, Strauss does a brilliant job, as Ed mentioned, of creating this fantastically caricatured music, but also has a very clear sense of bumbling personality and Baroque leaning as he draws attention back to Lully. At the opening of it, we hear Monsieur Jourdain, our bumbling fool, our middle-class gentleman who wants to be an aristocrat. And you can tell in the music that he's a little bit off-kilter. Nothing quite fits together, and all sounds a little weird as he tries his very, very hardest to fit into a language that he doesn't understand. So after our opening portrayal of Monsieur Jourdain, we come to the dancing master. This is very, very elegant, although, of course, in the play, Monsieur Jourdain is terrible. There's a wonderful quote in the play by Molière, which I love. He said, "All the misfortunes of mankind, all the dreadful disasters that fill the history books, the blunders of politicians and the lapses of great commanders proceed from not knowing how to dance." At that time, of course, dance was a huge and very, very important way of socially interacting, something under COVID of which we miss tremendously. But here is the dancing master. After that, we come to the fencing master, and here this is a moment of tremendous virtuosic display and posturing, replete with the épée to charge and to whatever they do, touche it, and for the piano, this is a particularly fiendish high wire passage of music. So this piece of music, this Bourgeois Gentilhomme suite by Richard Strauss, is famous as being one of the hardest concertmaster solos. And to demonstrate the movement, the tailors, this is our brilliant concertmaster, Geoffrey Malta.
So, this is probably the most difficult and famous concertmaster solo in all of the repertoire. It is the entrance of the tailors, and the tailors at that time in Vienna were Polish, and so he writes a polonaise. And it's very characterful and a lot of fun and very difficult.
As we mentioned earlier, Strauss is based a lot of his music upon the music of Lully, and this is indeed the minuet after Lully. Very calm, very peaceful and beautiful, to represent the more reasonable characters in the drama, namely Monsieur Jourdain's daughter Lucille and the genuine gentleman that is Cléante. So the big climax of the drama and the end of the 9-episode suite that you're about to hear ends with the dinner. And in the dinner, these waiters present this fantastic ceremonial feast as they dress up Monsieur Jourdain as a rather idiotically appearing, ill-fitting in his clothing Turkish aristocrat, which is, of course, extremely humorous in the way they make a deliberate caricature to show how ridiculous Monsieur Jourdain is. Here's the music at the beginning of the dinner scene. Then Strauss does a fantastic thing where he demonstrates the various foods that were on offer, and beginning with the Rhine salmon, a little quote to Wagner's Rheingold, and then you'll hear the Don Quixote with the sheep's bleating in the distance to show the mutton they're eating, followed by the larks and the thrushes, which are very clear and very onomatopoeic in the winds. And then at the end of it, we have the omelette surprise, which a young lascivious kitchen boy jumps on to the stage, gets a little bit drunk, starts to flirt and become rather well acquainted with the aristocratic ladies, and the whole music goes into this swirling, hilarious and brilliant Viennese waltz and comes to a crashing climax, and the piece is over. This is Strauss's fantastic version of the Molière play, The Middle Class Gentleman, and it's a wonderful pleasure to share this with you. We look forward to seeing you at the concert.